It's been 6 years since the new generation Defender launched, and finally we have one is here to beat all Defenders that come before it, and that is this, the Defender Octa. It is named after the octahedron, which is a diamond, apparently the strongest in the world, and so that little acronym looking title is what this vehicle here is about. This Defender Octa here is an MY26. It's Sargasso blue, it's had a few changes, flush lights at the back, a little bit of updating. It is absolutely the pinnacle of the Defender lineup because it costs $304,500 before on-road costs in Australia. So I'm Nathan Ponchard and this is Chasing Cars, and we're about to find out what this Defender can do.
Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
Budget Direct.
Looking at the Octa from front on, it's pretty obvious that this isn't a standard Defender. It is 68mm wider than the normal one because it needs all that extra girth to fit those wheels underneath it, and under here it has its own tune of engine. It's a 4.4 litre mild hybrid V8, twin turbocharged, 467 kilowatts, 750 Newton meters, 0 to 100 in 4 seconds. In a Defender that weighs quite a lot, but it's all about the engineering in this car that matters. It's not just the look, even though it does have this nice bronzish finish around the Defender badging here. All of this venting here at the front is about getting more air into the engine. And as we go around the car, that's pretty much what everything is about in the Octa. It's about making it the most capable Defender possible. These wheels here that look like steel, they're actually cast alloy. They're only 20s, but they look so cool in my opinion. I love that sort of metallic matte finish. Let us know what you think in the comments. The wheels, Goodyear Wrangler 275/60 R20, really knobbly. These are bolt on, but they look really smooth on the body. These vents here actually work, and they're on both sides of the car for air extraction out of the engine. And you can option air snorkels out of here that are actually made out of carbon fiber and apparently cost quite a lot of money, but they are not fitted to this car here. Underneath, adaptive air suspension with full 6D dynamics, which means it has this sort of hydraulic damping setup, all interconnected crossways and laterally and underneath the car to give it a degree of active anti-roll. It doesn't have any anti-roll bars, so it can go from super soft to super firm. It has an Octa mode in its drive modes, and it can go from 230mm of ground clearance, which it has in normal mode, to 323. So this thing can lift and teeter on these huge wheels, and when we get in the car you'll see what this thing, or hear as well, what this thing can actually do. We're in the UK to drive this MY26 Defender Octa, but surprisingly, even though it's boiling hot, what the sun is doing here is showing this beautiful metallic finish in this Sargasso blue that's unique for the Octa and for MY26. As I mentioned, here on the side here, we've got this little octagon thing, which is for Octa. Octahedron apparently is the hardest part of a diamond. I don't know whether that's particularly hard, but it's not about that, it's about the look of it. At the back, the MY26's flush lights here sit flush in this black here, all this gloss black, whole black tailgate, all of the black roof, all is just for the Octa. These are flush to stop dust getting caught in them like the older model apparently did. We do have these sort of gold tow hooks here, this awesome spare wheel on the back, but there's the rear camera, so you can see over the top of this that you don't smash that into things, but it is a good help when parking. And down here we have 4 pipes there and there to signify from the rear, if you're down low, what is under the bonnet in this awesome performance SUV. Inside the Defender Octa, one of the things that sets it apart are these sort of tombstone buckety front seats. They are covered in Windsor leather, which is perforated here and flat up here. They have heating and ventilation, although this car's not turned on and the ventilation is not working, hence why I cannot stop sweating. One thing they do have though is they're called body and soul seats. So they have speakers inside them. They may or may not be named after the 1987 Jenny Morris song. I don't think so, but if they were, then I hope it sounds really good in this car. The other thing that sets it apart, aside from some of this naked carbon fibre-ish here, is that it has an Octa button down here in the dash. There are many drive modes in the Defender Octa, but the Octa here gives it full engine power, max off-road potential, with all of the diffs and all of the electronics, giving it as many smarts as they possibly can to make this thing awesome off-road, and we'll talk about that shortly. Our introduction to the Octa was driving it off-road on this really awesome course where you kind of thought, well, I get 2 laps of that, and it was actually really quite brilliant, given that we didn't even know this car and we didn't know the course, and yet it was so competent and capable and well balanced and chuckable and all the things that you kind of want out of a performance SUV. And it's not slow. Performance, 4 seconds to 100, is perhaps ludicrously fast for something that is a Defender, but at the same time it's drivable and everything as well. And off-road, with the electronics helping us, it did an exceptional job, even going completely sideways but holding you there, or at least helping you be there. And when it was done with the test driver, then, well, you can see that this thing is phenomenal. It is very much the British Land Rover competitor, even though they want to call it Defender. It's still a Land Rover, the competitor for a Mercedes G63. And it drives in a very similar vein to that, but I think with perhaps a little bit more suppleness and a little bit more of a bent towards being a proper off-roader, given the bandwidth that they claim that this suspension and the 6D dynamics with all the interconnected hydraulics and all that sort of stuff allows it to have. Away from driving the Octa off-road, you can feel a little bit of the knobbliness of these tyres. They are very much designed as chubby all-terrain tyres. There's a little bit of a grittiness to it, but for the most part it seems pretty good. We're just in auto with the suspension here at the moment. It has somewhere between 9 and 11 modes, depending on who you believe from Land Rover, but it has a lot, and it is very much designed to do what the look and the suspension hardware implies. And so here we are just in auto. If we push the Octa button down here once quickly, it'll go to dynamic and adds more sound. And if we hold it down for a couple of seconds, it'll go to Octa, which is the mode that is designed for off-roading. We've been told not to do that on the road, and in this 50 zone right here, I'm not going to do it. But given how brilliant it was off-road in terms of its roll and its body control and its air ability, it is very much something that everybody should be able to try in this vehicle at least once. That is, if everybody gets a chance to drive something that costs $304,500 before it costs. I suppose the thing I like about the Defender Octa is that it's not a G-Wagen. It's the British version of a G-Wagen, really, an AMG one at least, in this Octa spec, but it isn't quite as flashy. It's tough looking, but it isn't quite as showy, and it doesn't have a little bit of that vibe of being perhaps a gangster mobile, because I kind of feel like a Defender as a Crim's vehicle of choice just isn't quite mean enough, and perhaps that's what makes it a little bit more of an every person's vehicle, even though at $304,500 very few people are going to be able to afford to buy this. What underpins the performance of it though is the V8 up front, and I know they don't want us to say it, but it is derived from BMW. It's the 4.4 litre twin turbo V8 that has given sterling service in a whole bunch of German cars, and is now in extremely wicked up 467 kilowatt 750 newton meter spec in this Defender. And so once you go into dynamic mode, and we will do that so in a minute, and hear this V8 roar, it is just a really lovely powertrain, lusty and torquey and easy to drive on light throttle, but also extremely rapid. And this drivetrain here, with the split with the suspension, I think it can send up to 83% of its drive to the back end. And as we mentioned outside, 323 millimeters of ground clearance, should you want that, is kind of insane really when you think about this vehicle doing 4 seconds to 100. But it just has all of that bandwidth, and I suppose, again, if you can afford it, it's all there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Prior to driving the Octa today, the only new Defender I'd driven was a 93 door with the 2 litre turbo 4-cylinder, with steel wheels, no carpet, and a flip-up seat in the middle so it could seat 3 across the front, like the absolute basic spec. And so to come to this at nearly $305,000 with 467 kilowatts, and this car is meant to be all about bandwidth, but it really does show what the Defender can do in all of its body shapes, with all of its powertrains. But this, in terms of where it can come from, in terms of its off-road ability and the possible ground clearance and the performance it offers and the look that it offers, like, I know that it's a little bit blingy and potentially seemingly a little bit garish, but I don't think that it is. It's just tough. It's just fat with these cool wheels, with that awesome powertrain and that awesome off-road ability. What it achieves for that money is that means you don't have to spend any money on aftermarket options. Everything is here already inbuilt into this car. And so that's the whole purpose of it. Not many people are going to be able to afford it, but hopefully the people that do will be able to use it for its potential, because this car is about bandwidth, not just about punching about. I'm Nathan Ponchard, this is Chasing Cars. If you haven't subscribed, please do so below the video and hit the notification bell and tell us what you think about the Defender Octa or what you think about chasing cars. Thanks for watching.